Okay, really sorry about that. A bit of a false alarm, but I'm just gonna read you the last slide, if that's okay. And I'll put both links up. I'll email them to you. Okay. So the last slide is concurrent validity. Uh, so are we really just measuring visual perception or something else? Uh, what we know from our analysis is that we're measuring at least components of visual perception, 7, or at least 7 things that have to do with visual perception. That's the most we know. Are there more components possibly? Are there less? Should we take some away? There's no concrete definition here. And that's also another limitation, I think. But yeah, the tvps does do a good job of measuring visual perception. And what we see on this chart is really interesting here. If we can look at visual discrimination, the first one, you can kind of see the correlations increase as age increases. So that means that's part of why this test hasn't been valid with adults and teens, because as children grow up, they get into sports or hunting or dancing or whatever, but things that require more visual perception, so they naturally get better as they age. This is part of why a test this simple becomes easier with development. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in the end. So we do have a lot of good correlations here between age and performance. There's also group differences. Mentally, kids with mental disabilities also took the tvps, and their scores were slightly lower, although not usually a whole lot. But we might speculate on maybe discrimination for ages 14 and 15. That's one that breaks the upward correlation of discrimination. Why maybe a lot of the kids with developmental disabilities were in that age group, by coincidence or another reason. But yeah, that might be skewing the numbers a bit, but the exceptional group differences do exist. And probably the last thing is that the test acknowledges that visual perception correlates or overlaps with other things, like being able to have memory. So in visual sequential memory, if your brain, the memory part of your brain is damaged, you're not able to accomplish this task even though your visual perception might be spot on. Another factor mentioned has been development. So in things like visual spatial and closure, we see things like development influencing the ability to do those tasks better without necessarily having studied or practiced or have had a real change in ability. So that just about concludes the psychometric analysis. From here, the rest of the girls are going to speak. And okay, thanks, Dr. Sparrow.